because the omega-3s are super high energy, highest energy molecule in nutrition. Some people call it the God molecule because it has so much juice in it, so much power in it.
I'm really excited today because we are going to be talking about nutrition essentials and everything you need to know about healthy oils and essential nutrition. So today's guest is someone you may have heard of before, Udo Erasmus, and he found Udo's Choice Oil. So I'm sure you've used that before. Udo's oil is so good for you. And he is the author of the book, Fats That Heal, Fats That Kill, which has sold over 250,000 copies. And he's an author and a speaker. And his background is actually in biochemistry, genetics, biology. He's the master, right? He knows everything about everything. We're really excited to introduce him. Welcome, Udo.
Hi, glad to be on.
Great. Well, tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into the healthy oils and what made you even think to develop this.
Well, the longer backstory is I was primed by being born during the Second World War, and it was horrendous. I was a little young child, 2.5 years old. We were running from the Soviet, who were chasing us in tanks and trucks. And the Allies, which are our side, which we like to think of the good guys, they were using us as target practice. We were on dirt roads, on horse-drawn hay wagons, mothers with young children, no military presence, and they were shooting at us from planes. And it was intense. It was very intense. I just remember fear and hunger
Yeah.
and not feeling safe and not knowing what I could trust, because every day was a different story because it was so chaotic.
Hmm.
And that got me very early to say, man, there must be a better way to live than this. And that's been my driver all my life. When I was 6 years old, I came up with, I'm going to figure out how we can live better. Oh, and then that's what got me into science and into all the, looking around, always trying to figure out if I knew everything, I'd be happy. Of course, that's not true, but it got me going. And what's that?
Hmm.
Oh, gee, I need to know that. So I was always like very studious and very serious. And if I didn't find what I needed in university, I was there for 8 years.
Hmm.
Something here was not getting fed.
Hmm.
I used to feel heartache when I was 17. I couldn't shake it after that. I didn't know what it was.
Hmm.
What is this? And that's why I went into science, and I went into biology, study of life, but you don't study life in biology. You study form and function. Psychology, study of soul. Well, you don't study soul in psychology. You study beliefs, thoughts, and emotion. I
Hmm.
went into medicine. I wanted to study health because it's called healthcare. It's actually disease management. We didn't learn about health there.
Yeah.
And I learned more about health in biochemistry and genetics and biology than I did in medicine. So
Yeah.
I left. Eventually I left. I said, what I'm looking for is not at the university. What I was really looking for was myself.
Mhm.
How do you find yourself? Well, you have to spend some time with yourself. Like if you want to get to know what this is,
Yeah.
you got to spend some time with it, like by yourself, sitting still, not getting distracted by anything else, and just see, okay, what does it feel like to be alive? What does it look like if I bring my focus inside my head, out of my thoughts, but into my head? And and then I ended up getting married, and we had 3 kids, and my marriage broke up, and I was really upset because it was supposed to be for life.
Hmm.
And I wanted to kill something. So I took a job as a pesticide sprayer. And I got 99.99.5% on the exam. But I was super careless and sloppy. And after 3 years, I got poisoned by the pesticides I sprayed. And I went to the doctor and said, what do you have for pesticide poisoning? And she said, nothing. And at that point, the penny dropped. Oh,
Hmm.
I'm on my own.
Hmm.
It's really, my health really is my responsibility. So I knew it as words, but this one, it's like, now now what do I do? And
Right.
my palms were sweating because I realized after I got poisoned that pesticides I sprayed cause cancer.
Hmm.
And so I thought I had cancer to look forward to. I'd been poisoned by it. So And so I decided to use my background in science to look for solutions. And the way I thought about it was, well, let's see, the body's made out of food. It's actually made out of food, air, and water, but I was just thinking food. So the body is made out of food. It turns over about 90%, 98% every year.
Mm-hmm.
So it's always turning over, right?
Right.
And then I said, okay, well, if something goes wrong with the body, then if you raise your standard for food intake,
Mm-hmm.
you should be able to rebuild 98% of your body to a higher standard in 1 year.
Right.
That's called healing. Healing is only possible because the body's always turning over.
Mm-hmm.
So raise the standard. Well, what is a better standard? And that got me into looking at the science of in Medline. You know, they had 16 million studies in Medline at that time. And I looked at everything that had to do with the essential nutrients, which is 18 minerals, 13 vitamins, 9 essential amino acids come from proteins, and 2 essential fatty acids that come from oil. And I got stuck on the oil arena because it was confusing. I read one study said omega-6 is an essential nutrient. And that means it's something you can't make in your body from anything else.
Yeah.
But you have to have it to live and be healthy. It has to be brought in from outside. That's
Right.
number one. Number two,
Mhm.
if you don't get enough of any essential nutrient, and there's 42 of them, right? If you don't get enough of any one of them, you cannot stay healthy. So then your health will deteriorate. You will get deficiency symptoms. They will get worse with time. And if you don't get enough long enough, you die. That's how important this stuff is. This isn't like take it or leave it.
Right. And the omega-6, people think, oh, well, I just need to eat fish or something, right? But what if you don't like?
Well, that's for omega-3s.
Oh, that's omega-3.
You know, what they're now saying is you shouldn't use seed oils and you shouldn't use omega-6s.
Right.
And they haven't done their homework.
Mm-hmm.
That's not true. Omega-6 is an essential nutrient. You have to have it. If you don't get enough long enough, you die. But if you bring enough of it back while your health is deteriorating before you die, then all of your symptoms of not getting enough are reversed and you get your health back. Because life knows how to make a body, provided you take responsibility here at your mouth.
Right.
To make sure all of the essential building blocks land in your body so life can do its job.
Mm-hmm.
That's the definition, right? So
Yeah.
I'm reading it. It says omega-6 is an essential nutrient. And the very next study I read said omega-6 gives you cancer and kills you. And my head exploded. It's like, wait, I have to take it so it can kill me?
Right.
It's like, it's like, there's something missing here. There must be, they can't both be true. And it was that contradiction that forced me to really look into how are oils made.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out that when oils are made, they're treated with very harsh chemicals, sodium hydroxide, phosphoric acid. They're bleached with bleaching clays. That makes them rancid. And the whole reason for it is that oils are very sensitive to damage done by light, oxygen, and heat. And the industry wants to have a long shelf life on these very sensitive molecules. So they process them to take out everything that makes them sensitive. And so now they can get it, put them in a bottle for 2 years, and then that means they can make them in Salt Lake City and they can sell them in Johannesburg and Tokyo.
Right.
And Berlin.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and Miami and Ottawa.
Right.
Right? So you have a worldwide market if you can get a shelf life on a product and you don't have to deal with that. So that's why they do that.
Mm-hmm.
In the processing they do, about 0.5 to 1% of the molecules are damaged.
Mm-hmm.
But I have a question for you that you probably don't have the basis for making a good answer to, but I want to ask you anyway.
Okay.
So I called him and said, why do you do this? It damages the oil. Why do you do that? And he says, well, one of the reasons is because we can get rid of half of the pesticides in the oil. And at that point, I was like, I didn't even know there were pesticides in oils.
Yeah.
So I'm going, and I'd been poisoned by him. So this is not a good answer for me. I didn't say anything, but in my head, I said, So I asked him, well, why don't you start with organically grown seeds?
Mhm.
Then you don't have any pesticides to get rid of. Then you don't have to damage the oil. And he didn't have an answer for that.
Mm.
He had never thought about it. And he got mad at me.
Mhm.
He said, what the hell is wrong with you? You got 99% good. It's only 1% damage. What's your squawk? So then I said, okay, let's do the math. So my question was, if I have a tablespoon of an oil
Mhm.
that is 1% damage by the processing, how many damaged molecules are going to be in that oil?
Mhm.
That's the question I'm asking you to answer.
Yeah, I don't know.
How many damage?
I would assume more than half of the tablespoon is probably contaminated. If
No, it's only 1%. Give me a number.
100. I don't know how many molecules.
Okay. So, yeah. So, because we don't know, right?
Yeah, I don't know.
There's a way to figure out how many molecules are in a tablespoon of oil, but that requires a science background that most people don't have. So would you like to know the actual
Yes,
number?
I would love to know.
Okay, so you said 100. Actually, a 6 followed by 19 zeros.
Wow. 19 zeros.
Quintillion, 60 quintillion damaged molecules.
Wow.
So your estimate of the damage done to you by a tablespoon of an oil that is 1% damage, you underestimate it by 600
Yeah, there's so many.
600 quadrillion times.
Mm.
So way under. I ask this question when I do talks because people don't know.
Yeah.
They never get any closer than 1 billion times too low in their estimate of how much damage is done to the oil. And
Wow.
the reason why I do that is, you're putting this stuff in your mouth.
Mhm.
Every day you take this. You take 2 to 4 tablespoons.
Mhm.
You get it. Everything has oil in it, right?
Right.
And you're getting this oil, and you think you're doing yourself. If you even think you're doing yourself any damage, then the estimate of how much damage you're done is always at least 1 billion times too low.
Yeah.
Right? And then you do that for 30 years, and there's pesticides in the oil, and there's plastic in the oils because they're all packaged in plastic, most of them, right? And then you get a problem, and they say, I don't know, I always ate good.
Mhm.
Because you didn't know that you were way underestimated how many damage. And what is the problem with damaged molecules? They didn't exist in nature, so they go somewhere in your body, and wherever they go, they interfere with what's supposed to be going on because they're the wrong shape, right? So then you're doing that, and they're going everywhere in your body, in your cell membranes and in your fat tissues and everywhere. And it's kind of like, well, there should be glass in the window, but I'm just going to put a rock in there, and that'll be my window.
Right.
Yeah, that's not really going to work in your house,
No.
right? Or I'm going to put a door up, but I'm not going to have any hinges.
Yeah.
I think hinges are stupid, so I'm just gonna lean a piece of cardboard against my window, in winter, right?
Mhm.
When it's like 30 below, and we're doing that to our body. So that cannot be good for you. Life knows how to make a body, but only in nature.
Yeah.
Only when we live in line with nature and our nature can we be healthy. And then you go and you look at what you got: white flour and white sugar and fried oils. On top of that, we fry the oil,
Right.
and you have to multiply that number by another 6 or 10 times
Mhm.
because you do a lot of damage by heat, oxygen, and light
Mhm.
all at the same time in the frying pan when you use oils for frying,
Right.
right? And I said, you know what? I can't get healthy on oils like that. We need to make oils with health in mind.
Yeah.
And I grew up on a farm, and we tinker with stuff, and you haywire stuff together when you need to,
Mhm.
and so I was pretty comfortable doing that. So I knew what the issue was. You got to protect the oil from light, oxygen, and heat
Right.
through the whole process of making it, and when it's in the bottle,
Mhm.
and when you use it, you don't want to freeze it for frying,
Right.
right?
Mhm.
Fresh, whole, raw, organic is like the standard
Right.
nature set for creatures that eat.
Right.
So I developed a method for doing that. I developed designs for doing that so that the oil doesn't get damaged from the time it's in the seed. Nature's packaging is quite good. But then through the pressing, the filtering, the settling, the filling, till it's in a brown glass bottle, nitrogen flushed, in a box to cut out all the light,
Mhm.
in the fridge. And so these are refrigerated oil,
Yeah.
right? And the industry doesn't want to refrigerate oils. They'll refrigerate, the ice cream and steaks, but they don't want to do it with the oils that need it most. You can drink liquid ice cream. It's still going to be sugar and taste nice,
Right.
right?
Right.
But you can't do that with oils.
Yeah. So that's why your oils are in the refrigerator at Whole Foods, is because they need to be.
Yep. And so then we did, and then we set the standards. And I have no business background. I have good science background, no business background. And we made decisions about the business right and left just because we set a standard. Here's what we're doing. We will not work with people who will not take care of our oil. So when people came and said, and we created a buzz because, when all of this thinking happened in my head, like I said, oh my God, I found out omega-3 is essential. The year after I got poisoned, that was established, 1981. And if they're essential, you got to have them. 99% of the population doesn't get enough for optimum health. And I was saying, oh my God, if we could make omega-3s, which are more sensitive than omega-6s to damage, like 5 times more sensitive, if we could make those with health in mind and bring those back into the population, oh my God, we could help almost everybody. And I got so excited. Oh my God, I finally found something worth living for. This is worth doing. I'm going to do it. I get to do it. Right? It was like that. And then we created a buzz because I was so excited. Oh my God. It's not like, I don't know. I was always looking for what's worth doing. And there was a lot of things I've tried and say, yeah, this is not worth doing or not for me. And this is like, oh my God, I'm on a mission from God. It's kind of like that, right? And then we went out, created a buzz, and then when people said, everybody wanted to carry the oil, all the distributors, so I would have an interview with them, say, okay, do you have refrigeration in your place? If they said yes, I would pass them on to the guy who I worked with, who would make the business deal, see if they could make a business deal. If they said no, my second question was, are you willing to bring it in, refrigeration? If they said yes, I said, let us know when you have it. And if they said no, I would say, this is a good time to end the interview. We will not do business with people who will not refrigerate or prep oil. And we did stuff like that, set a really high standard, do something that takes a ton of work, right? And then be really exclusive about who you work with.
Right.
And the reason that it went well is because we took the care that the oils need. And when you take care of them, they improve virtually every part of your body. You build muscles faster, you have more stamina, it takes longer to get tired, you recover from fatigue quicker. If you get injured, you heal in a half the time. If you're a hockey player and you ran 90 seconds on the ice, hell bent for leather, as they say, right? And then you're tired, you recover in half the time, and it takes you longer to get tired, so you can do 99 seconds. And then athletes noticed that if they did their sport to exhaustion and they took a tablespoon per 50 pounds of body weight per day of the oil that we worked with, flax oil, they could increase their stamina and their performance by 40 to 60% within 30 days just by doing that one thing. Because the omega-3s are super high energy, highest energy molecule in nutrition. Some people call it the God molecule because it has so much juice in it, so much power in it. And and I didn't know, a lot of it I didn't know. I just knew it would be good because there wasn't a lot of research on omega-3s because nobody kind of thought that they were really essential.
Right.
And there was confusion about some omega-6 derivatives that are like omega-3s. And so that there was crossover between the benefits. And that all got figured out really like in the 80s, 90s. And a lot of work now a lot of work's been done on omega-3s. And they're the champion. Most sensitive molecule in nature, in nutrition, not in nature, but in nutrition. And, and then we use them for oil frying. So I go to people and say, hey, you got a frying pan at home? Yeah, I got a frying pan at home. Everybody does, right? Go get the frying pan, turn it upside down, bonk yourself up the side of the head with it, throw it out. Because frying is the stupidest thing we have ever invented to do to our food if health is our goal. Stupidest thing. Fried oils, fry health. Fried foods, fry health. The chant. That's the chant.
Yeah, there's a trend too that everyone's saying you should have a tablespoon of olive oil, but then there's controversy they say olive oil isn't good for you either, or other oils. Like,
No.
yeah, let's clear that up.
Okay, first of all, the olive oil has to be extra virgin
Ah,
because you can get different kinds of olive oil. If it's really extra virgin, some people lie about it. So you have to be careful in the marketplace because there's a lot of people really got into olive oil. What's good about it, it's not damaged by the processing because they use a different process. They don't use the big presses, and so they do it different. So that's good. But olive oil only has 10% omega-6. That's the essential one. Has no omega-3. So olive oil isn't damaged. You should not use it for frying. In
mhm.
traditionally they cooked in water, like in the Mediterranean countries, it comes from, right?
Right.
They cooked in water, then they dumped the water, then they put oil on their foods to enhance the
Mhm.
taste because oils enhance taste and improve absorption of oil-soluble nutrients for health that way. They didn't use it for frying. That frying only started about 150 years ago. So olive oil is good on the basis of not being damaged, but it's bad in terms of not getting you the essential nutrients you need from oils. And when
Right.
people rely on olive oil to get them for them, they won't get them. Then you'll be one of the 99% of the people who don't get enough omega. Now people are saying omega-6 you shouldn't have and seed oils you shouldn't take, and those people haven't done their homework. Because
Yeah.
what happens is the industry damages the oil, 1%, and then the damaged oil is used in research, and then there are some negative consequences, outcomes of that research, and
Mhm.
then they blame it on the oil when they should be blaming it on the damage done by processing.
Right.
And
Right.
omega-6 is an essential nutrient. If you don't get any omega-6s, and there's a crackpot who used to say if you got enough B vitamins, you don't need any essential fatty acids. Completely contradicted by all the research. But there are people who follow this guy. And so they say, don't use omega-6s. If you don't get any omega-6s long enough, you die. This is a really bad advice by people who've only done half the homework. But they're right about not using damaged oils. They're just not fingering the damage. And, we figured that out over 40 years ago. And the other thing is that they use it kind of like you get attention when you yell fire in the theater, right?
Mhm.
Well, that's how people get attention. Oh, don't you? Oh, that's really bad. Oh, no, no, no. And then they don't tell you what to do because they haven't done the homework. What we did is we figured that out. We knew their damage. We know there's more than 10 different kinds of ways you can damage oil molecules. We know what that damage is. And then we said, okay, well, it's good. It's one thing to complain. In psychology, when we studied psychology, they told us, when somebody complains, two things about them. One is they know that the standard could be higher. And the second one is that they're too lazy to do the work to raise the standard. And they want somebody else to do the work. So they just complain. And that's the category I put these people into, right? They're complaining. They're telling you what's wrong. And by the way, everybody does it because it gets your attention. They say, then what I should do. And then they'll sell you something else behind it, or they won't even sell you something else. So it's a market. It's like, yelling fire, creating crisis, is a way to get people's attention, and it's marketing. But it's bad marketing because love is actually better marketing when it comes right down to it.
Yeah. If you know it, that's the key. Tell us about your documentary that you were in, the Eating Our Way to Extinction. Tell us about being in that documentary.
Well, somebody set that up for me. Tony Robbins
Uh-huh.
knows my oil. And he was a huge promoter of it for 20 years. One of the guys who was involved in it lives in Vancouver and is a friend of mine. And so he said, well, I want you in the movie because they're talking about fish oils and you don't need fish oils and the oceans are polluted and fish oil is like really damaged because fish oil is another 5 times more sensitive than plant omega-3s. So it's super, super sensitive. And that's why you get the fish oil, and that's why if you get it in a bottle, even if it's in the fridge, you can smell the rancidity.
Well, and didn't Tony Robbins have some type of mercury poisoning for a minute because he had so much certain fish?
He did. And then so this guy got in touch with Tony Robbins and said, we want you to do an
Mhm.
interview with Udo. And it took him, I think, 8 months to get it done. So we flew down to Florida where he lives. and had the interview at his house. And I got my 21 seconds of fame in the movie. I've timed it. It's 21 seconds. And basically talking about you don't need fish oils. You can get the omega-3s and 6s from plants. You don't have to go to fish. And the oceans are now the sewer of the planet because everything flows downhill. So all the garbage we put on land ends up in the ocean. So the oceans are polluted. Fish is now the dirtiest meat on the planet, according to studies. And if you can get your oils not from fish, but from plants, you get it in a more stable form. Your body can make the fish oils if you get the balance between omega-3 and 6 right, because they both use the same enzyme systems to get converted in all kinds of really important hormone-like molecules. They both use them, but if you get too much of one, you crowd out the other. And if you get too much of the other, it would crowd out the one. So you got to get the ratio. So we did that. So we'd worked with that as well. And part of the reason why we've increased through the seed oils and we've decreased our omega-3 intake to 1/6 of what people got in 1850. And so we've really changed the ratio. So people have, even if they have a little omega-3 in their diet, they're not getting any function because they're crowded out from getting the function done. All of that needs to be done right. Anyway, so that's what we did. And then they put me in the Hall of Fame in health food trade for starting in the industry of making oils with health in mind. That's my claim to fame. The biggest thing is you have to build a system that makes it. And then you can make any kind of oil with health in mind. But you have to protect the oil from the damage that is done to them by oxygen light.
I love that. Well, where can people go to get your oil so that they can be healthy?
The oil is it's in the health food trade, in a brown glass bottle, in a box, in the fridge, in the supplement section, in the health food store.
So, and most health food stores, Whole Foods, Sprouts, all of them.
Yep. And you can get it off Amazon too, but I always tell people, get it locally, support your local people who bring it in, and if they have it in the fridge. And if they don't have it in the fridge, they can bring it in for you. The company is called Flora, and we've been working together since 1994.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Udo, for being on our show, Elite Expert Insider. It's been very educational, and I'm excited to go and get more oil. I've used Udo oil before, and I'm excited to go get it again because I have run out, so I need to go get some more.
And one more thing, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I have a YouTube channel, and I'm on LinkedIn, and on my website, udoerasmus.com.
Mhm.
I'm now working on turning total health into a teachable field and human nature into a teachable field. Because what the hell? Health is the most important thing we have. Before I check out, I want to turn those into teachable health.
I like that. That's awesome. Well, thanks again for being on our show. Please like and share this podcast and send it to a friend who you know it would benefit. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button.
Hey, are you looking to increase your revenue, build credibility, and elevate your brand? This podcast is brought to you by Elite Online Publishing, an innovative publishing and full spectrum marketing company. They will publish and market your book to make it a #1 bestseller. Becoming an author is the best way to market your business. So contact them at eliteonlinepublishing.com today. All of their authors become #1 bestsellers.